Major relief is coming to the American people. That is according to the White House. And this is good news, especially for those that are behind on mortgage payments, rent, car payments, insurance costs, maybe their utility bills, or even credit cards. Millions of people are currently behind, some of which are going into foreclosure. Many are seeing their cars repossessed at a time when they need their vehicle so much. But all this is happening and everyone's asking the same question. Is President Trump serious about sending out those $2,000 checks? Well, the answer is yes. And I'm going to play a clip for you from Caroline Leavitt. She's going to pretty much address this and what the White House is doing. But before I show you that, look at this right here. Because President Trump just said yesterday, the stock market is at all-time highs. We are seeing very limited inflation, but there is a new concern, which could actually be solved by additional money and relief coming to the American people. Look what just happened today. It says Dow drops more than 800 points, heads for its worst day in over a month. The concern? Stocks are they're just overhyped. The value isn't there. The Federal Reserve is now talking about potentially not cutting rates in December like they initially planned. And that's what the stock market was rallying behind, is that we knew another rate cut was coming, which would make it easier to get into a home, buy a car, and just borrow money during the holiday season. But this is why it's such a big deal for millions of Americans to receive some type of dividend or stimulus or relief. Just listen to this.
So much. Trump has talked about sending out $2,000 checks to U.S. citizens. Earlier this year, he also talked about sending a Doge dividend. That didn't materialize. Should U.S. Citizens expect a $2,000 proposal? Is the White House committed to making that happen?
The White House is committed to making that happen, yes. And we are currently exploring all legal options to get that done. I don't have a timeline for you or any further details, but I can confirm for you that the president made it clear he wants to make it happen. And so his team of economic advisors are looking into it. And when we have an update, we'll provide one.
One of the things that you need to keep in mind, and you really need to be open-minded with this, is that the Trump administration is looking at all legal avenues. A stimulus check like we received during the pandemic may not be coming. A dividend check coming from tariff revenue may not be coming. But according to Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, he says they're looking at all options. Now, why is this a big deal? Well, it's because the government is now reopened. And so now we're going to start to see the data that's been hidden for the past 40 plus days. For instance, look at this. It says new foreclosures jump 20% in October, a sign of more distress in the housing market. Now, I want to read this to you. It says right here, it says there were 36,766 U.S. properties with some type of foreclosure filing in October, such as default notices, scheduled auctions, or bank repossessions. It says that was 3% higher than September and a 19% jump from October 2024. Marked the 8th straight month of annual increases. It says foreclosure starts, which are the initial phase of the process, rose 6% for the month and were 20% higher than the year before. Keep in mind, a foreclosure starts. This is the initial. This is the beginning process of the. This is the beginning stages of the legal process. Okay, and this normally happens about 3 to 6 months after the first missed payment. So that right there shows that this has been going on for some time. Now, here's the other thing. Okay, I want to read something to you. Look at this right here. It says, "Are you 40 and buying your first home? Welcome to the club." It says, "Faced with higher prices, big student loan bills, and elevated mortgage rates, Americans are waiting longer than ever to buy a home." That is not the full truth. It's part of it. Americans are postponing large purchases and major decisions. Many Americans are not starting a business. They're not buying a new car. They're not paying off student loan debt. They're simply postponing that. They're skipping monthly payments. They're doing the same thing when it comes to credit card debt, even medical bills. And many are delaying having children because of the added expense. So right now, there's a lot of things that are holding people off from making these major life decisions, which actually help the US economy. Right now, we are being hurt and in many different ways. The Trump administration has said that this is why they are big on sending an additional child tax credit or a larger one in future years, because this would actually incentivize people to have children. Not only that, how do we incentivize people to go and get a mortgage, buy a home? That is the American dream, or it used to be. Well, we've gone away from that, and President Trump wants to go back. This is why he's pushing for a 50-year mortgage. This could be substantial, although it would get you into a home. The problem is you would pay so much more in interest by going from a 30-year to a 50-year. This is why many people recommend stick to a 15-year so that you can pay it off that much sooner. But here's where things get interesting. Look at this. It says White House scrambles to address voters' affordability concerns as President Trump has dismissed it. President Trump in the public eye is dismissing the fact that there's an affordability crisis here in the United States. But behind closed doors, amongst many lawmakers, when they have these private discussions, he knows there is an affordability crisis, but he doesn't want to come out and say, yeah, everything's not affordable these days, so we are just going to pretty much do away with tariffs. That'll bring the prices down. We're going to drill more oil. That's also going to bring prices down. We are going to put a cap on things like wage growth. Again, that's going to bring prices down. He's not going to do that because, again, that stunts the growth of the United States. So, according to reports, President Trump is asking his economic advisors for different ways, different options to make the United States more affordable. Now, could we bring more manufacturing over to the United States? Yes. That would bring more jobs here to the U.S. That would mean people are making more money. We'd also bring in more tax revenue. But at the end of the day, if people are making more money, they're able to spend more money. So we could potentially see wage increases and not decreases, not hourly decreases either. Now, with that said, look at this, because I've been saying this for quite some time. It says, workers take on side jobs to combat stagnant salaries and insecurity about employment. I've been telling you guys for about maybe over a year that there is a concern that jobs are not stable at this time because companies are starting to transition. And as these companies transition, the federal government and the White House need to find a way to ensure that the American people feel some sort of stability. As of right now, millions of Americans do not feel secure with their job, which is why, again, President Trump is pushing for Doge tariff, Doge revenue, Doge dividends, whatever you want to call it, even tariff revenue. Let's give some of that back to the American people. We tax these imports, and let's take that money, pay off some of our debt, but the main thing, give it back to the American people, especially in this time when we are headed into Q4 and the holiday shopping season. This next month or two, okay, technically we've got a month and a half until 2026. This is going to dictate what the 2026 agenda looks like. Are we going to see a push for stimulus checks? Are we going to see more tax relief? What is going to happen? Well, here's a big one. This right here says 2 Federal Reserve officials oppose an interest rate cut in December. If interest rates do not get cut, this means borrowing is just more expensive. And if it's more expensive, there's a less likely chance businesses are going to invest back into the business. There's a very strong possibility individuals aren't going to buy as much during the holiday season. And again, if this happens, this pushes us behind. This pushes us backwards from where we want to be. Now, here's where things, again, are looking rather interesting for 2026. Because according to the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, he says that we are likely going to see relief and massive relief to start 2026. But look at this. It says Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent predicts blockbuster year for U.S. economy and relief for workers. A blockbuster year. That is huge. I want to read a little of this to you. It says right here, I say that, if I can get it, says, I say that you are going to feel it, Bessent said on Wednesday. He says, I was just down in my hometown of Charleston, South Carolina. Pause that. Charleston, South Carolina on Friday, and this new Boeing plant is opening up. That's 1,000 new jobs that the president has brought back. Says Bessent also visited a rare earth plant in South Carolina where previously laid off workers are seeing new opportunities. 800 construction jobs, and he said 300 permanent positions that could eventually grow to 3,000. What we are seeing right now is there is a renewed effort to not only provide more jobs here in the United States, but to ensure there's some type of relief to the American people. It's not just coming from these individual businesses. It's also coming from the states and from the federal government itself. The White House is adamant that they are going to do everything in their powers to ensure that there is no affordability crisis. And according to a handful of Republicans and one person that I talked to, he is saying that Republicans are going to do something that is going to pretty much shock the American people, because everyone thinks there's no relief coming. There's no tariff dividend. There's no stimulus. There's no tax rebate or tax cuts. According to him, there is a plan in place that is going to shock the American people. So, is this going to happen? If it does, the expectation is Republicans are going to push for it over the next year right before the midterm elections. But is that the reason why President Trump is saying that he is demanding that senators pretty much remove the filibuster so that Republicans can get their agenda passed with only 51 votes? That could be. But again, it's too early to tell. All I'm here to tell you is that this looks like it is coming. It's going to happen, but it's just a matter of time. Again, we don't know exactly what it's going to look like, who it's going to impact, or when it's coming. But according to reports, it is happening behind the scenes. So, as we get more updates on this, I promise I'll bring you all the latest news and updates as soon as we get them. But as of today, that is what we know. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.